Hey folks, I'm really excited to be teaching you something today. We're going to teach you this concept called the game. It's actually a tool that we've used for many years in Colliers, probably 20 years. We used it to help expand us around the globe. We've used it to help our managers be more effective and our producers, and many times triple, quadruple their income using this tool. Now, the tool that we're going to teach you about is something that not everybody in the company uses. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a gift because a lot of people don't think you should probably learn this until you're 10 years in the business because they want you to concentrate now on clauses and professionalism and that stuff. But I think this is actually going to help you in all that area, all those areas. This is going to give you a better understanding of how to win in this business, how to take care of customers, how to get them going and liking you and wanting to work more with you, that kind of thing. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with a slideshow. This is probably going to go through a series of maybe 4 or 5 classes. It's going to teach you a lot of stuff in terms of human behavior, et cetera. But we'll be using PowerPoint throughout the whole program. And if you're expecting that when you go back to your office that a bunch of people understand this tool, they don't. A lot of people in the company, they're new to the company. They didn't get a chance to go through this. There are a number of managers that understand it well, and then there's others that have never used it. So I would say if you really want to get more up to speed on this, coaching with me, I can help you, or going back over through these recordings will help as well. And of course, they're on Colliers acceleration programs, so you can use them. So let's go ahead and get started. What we want to start with is the concept that you are in a game, okay? So it's called the game, and we're going to teach you about what that is. And inside the game, there's going to be some things that we want you to understand. First of all, it's a counterintuitive offer that we're teaching you. We're not going to ask you to do more. We already think that people are already overloaded with work. So what we're going to do is actually try and help you to do less. Okay, so we're not asking you to do more, we're helping you do less. And the way we're doing that is by teaching you how to eliminate the extraneous actions and thinking that slows down your ability to win. There's a lot of things that are going on in your day that you're not paying attention to that are actually slowing you down. And nobody teaches you how to identify them. So we're going to show you how to look at them and actually how to pull what we call pulling time from the transaction so that things go quicker. All right. The key is to become better observers of your performance. So that you're performing like you're on stage. And so we want to show you how to be really good at seeing that and then be effective and ruthlessly eliminate the extraneous activities that just don't get in the way. They don't move the ball forward. And there's a lot of things that are happening related to that. It's the most efficient and effective thing to be doing is to generate results you're looking for. What is the most efficient and effective thing? How do I figure that out? That's what we're going to be teaching you about. Now, a lot of people 15 or 20 years into the business, they've kind of figured this out because they know what a time waster is and what one isn't. But when you're starting off, you're not quite sure. So our job is to help accelerate that. So like I said, this is counterintuitive coaching. Let me give you an example. When I first started playing tennis, I advanced very quickly and I started really liking the sport. And so I kept playing for many years, and I decided at one point I might want to become a professional tennis player. So I took this really amazing series of lessons with this guy that used to be one of the top players in the world, and he was now a world-renowned coach. And he sat me down, he put me across the tennis court, and he said, I don't want you to actually hit any balls. And I said, okay. And he started hitting balls to me. Actually, I had his assistant hitting balls to me. And as the balls kept coming over, he said, what do you see? And I said, well, I see a tennis ball coming at me. I see the player hitting balls to me. And he says, what do you see? And I said, well, I see this one went cross court. This one went down the line. And he said, no, what do you see? And I kind of looked at him. Felt kind of weird. And I said, well, I don't know. I'm tennis ball. And he said, okay, do you see the seams on the ball? And I thought, oh, okay, I'll look for that. And he said, okay, look for that. And then I said, look for that. And he goes, now what do you see? And I said, oh, I see topspin. I see slice. I see flat. And he said, okay. He said, that's what I want you to start observing. You need to observe at a different level. And this is what this coaching will do. It's going to help you observe at a different level than you're used to observing. Then what happened is that he started teaching me this concept of strategy, how to use those observations on the tennis court, and it completely changed my game. And I thought I was good. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I realized, oh my gosh, there's this whole other thing going on I wasn't aware of. And that's what we're going to show you today and start moving through and teaching you about, is this whole other thing. So let's start. All business is just a game. I want you to hear this. all business is just a game. People get upset when I say that because they say, no, this is shareholder value. This is eat or be eaten. This is, kill or be killed. We're fighting for our lives in business. No, it's just a game. And a game is when somebody says something's more important than something else because somebody said so. That's it. That's a game. All right. And you've seen games, you've played games, like many of you have played Monopoly, and you play that game and somebody pulls out this rule that you've never heard of. And then you say, well, that's not in the rule book. And then they say, well, it didn't say you can't do it. And you look in the rule book and it doesn't say. And then you're kind of saying, as a team, you're all interpreting, well, what is the rule book? So what I want to show you is that you're actually playing a big game, a game of real estate. Commercial real estate is a big game, but there's even a bigger game going on that sits below all of that all human beings are playing. And we're going to talk about what those are. And we call that game market force. So below everything is this game going on called market force. And I'm going to teach you at the core of what this is, so you understand the lessons about it. And market force is the measurement of an individual or organization's identity. It's called market force. It's your measurement of your identity within a specific community. Okay? Market force is to the extent that your organizational identity recognizes that you can produce a promise. That's where you have market force. In other words, if you say, I promise we can do this, and there's a bunch of people that agree, you have a lot of market force. So there are certain actors, maybe Tom Hanks, he's going to go into a movie, everybody knows it's going to be great because he's a good actor, so he has huge market force because his acting ability is super consistent. Darth Vader's always a bad guy, so you always know that if Darth Vader's going to be in, he's going to be a bad guy. So these people have big market force, but lots of people have market force. We're going to talk about who they are and how they've developed it, and we're going to teach you how to build your own, because you need to have market force. You need to have a whole bunch of people, clients, thinking that you can deliver on a promise and that you're for sure going to be able to do it. And when you do, you're going to have a lot of market force. All right. The stock market is a perfect example of the measurement of that market force. It's constantly being measured. It's going up daily. It's going up and down and daily. And so if you pay attention to stocks, what the stock market is a reflection of that group, that corporate's ability to produce the promises they said they were going to produce. And we can measure it in money. And when you think they're definitely going to produce those promises, it goes up. And when you think they're not, it goes down. And it's constantly moving all the time. So that's a really neat example of market force in action measured. All right. These companies have huge identity in the game. They have huge market force. You do those three circles anywhere on the globe, the ones on your left, and everybody says Mickey. Everybody knows Apple. Everybody knows Nike. They have huge market force. They have promises that people can deliver, and they know they can deliver. The question is what market force do you have? If we showed you a picture of you for your clients or the people in your office, what would they say you could produce in terms of a promise? What is it that you can do over and over again that they know you're going to get? What market force do you have? And most people have never really thought about that. And they say, well, I'm honest and trustworthy and hardworking. And it's like, hey, everybody does that. It's like saying in your car and you have an airbag. Everyone has an airbag now. Doesn't mean anything anymore. So you saying that you're honest and trustworthy and hardworking, very few markets in the world is that really believed as being anything different than what anybody else would say. I'm waiting for the broker that says, hey, I'm the dishonest one, that doesn't work hard, that's lazy. I mean, that doesn't happen. So it's got to be something different than that. Disney doesn't say, hey, we're honest and we're hardworking and trustworthy. They don't say that. What they say is we do wholesome family entertainment. Apple is a design company first, technology second, cool design, easy to use. So these are the kinds of things I want you to start thinking about in terms of your identity, and we'll work on that. When I got in the business in 1984, these are the companies that were the top 10 companies on the left. All right, so, IBM, Exxon, General Motors, General Electric. Now look at the companies. This is 2016, so 17 just came out, but I don't have that data yet. But look at the numbers in terms of, we're talking about the size, the amount of billions of dollars these companies made in profit, and look at how different they are. They've changed. So it just shows you market force went down with one group and market force went up with another group. So there's a good example of showing you how that works. All right. Here are some of the rules, basic rules. You damage or grow your identity to the extent that you damage or grow the identity of others. At the very base of this entire game is that your job is to grow the identity of your clients. Your job is to grow the identity of your of who you're working with, the people in your office, your manager, your everybody you come in contact with. You grow their identity and they grow your identity. And if you erode it, then you lose market force. If you grow it, you gain market force. Okay, super core, absolute concept. If there's one thing you remember about this game, it's this line. Okay, and a lot of people don't really understand that. Most people are trying to grow their own identity. They don't realize they're trying to grow their client's identity. You don't think of a tenant rep assignment where you're saying, well, I'm trying to grow the client's identity. People don't think about that. They think, no, I'm just trying to get this deal done. You don't think of selling an apartment building to somebody. You don't think, well, I'm going to grow their identity, or selling it for them. I'm going to grow their identity. You think of, well, I'm going to get a deal and make some money. And see, that's the miss. The miss is the people that think about growing their own identity miss it. It's growing the identity of other people. All right. It's dynamic. It's happening constantly. Every time you interact with somebody, especially when you're trying to accomplish something, you have an opportunity to grow market force. This is happening when you're talking with people all the time. You're interacting with them at many different levels. You get an opportunity to grow their identity or not. If you erode their identity, they're going to stop working with you. If it's neutral and there's somebody that grows it, they're going to work with the person that grows them. Okay. So what do we do here? What's the game rules? So here's the game. Market force is gained through successful transaction. You do transactions with people successfully that they want, and you will grow market force. You don't, you'll lose it. So a lot of people don't understand that. We're going to talk more about what a transaction is, because it isn't just money. So transactions are exchanges that occur continuously in all areas of life. All the time, they're happening all the time. Family, friends, vendors, coworkers, and there aren't what you think, because a lot of people think transaction has to do just solely with selling some real estate, doing a lease, but there's other things that are happening in transaction. Okay, in this game, everyone is constantly evaluating or reassessing each other's ability to perform. So everybody's trying to figure out, are you going to be able to do it, or you're not going to be able to do it? Are you going to be able to follow through or not follow through? In transacting with other human beings, they're always evaluating this. And all you're doing in business is trying to create enough trust so people think for sure you can do it. And when you do that, you'll end up getting more business. And if they don't trust you, then they're not sure. Okay? Here's a picture of a transaction where people are exchanging money. This is the way we all think of a transaction. But actually, sometimes a transaction is just a promise. It's a handshake. It's an agreement. There's no money that changed hands. I'll help you, you help me. Sometimes it's a trade. I mean, between kids, this is a transaction going on, trading an apple for Jell-O or pudding or whatever. That's a transaction, okay? Transactions can be happening on teams, because you do your part of the thing, I'll do my part, and we'll win the game. That's a transaction again. And the neat thing about sports and wars, the transaction's compressed, and they do a lot more of them much faster, so people get an understanding of what transaction is. But here's an abstract one that people don't realize. Come to a four-way stop sign. That's a transaction as well, because you go through, no, I go through, you go through, last, person on the right goes through, whatever. You're all transacting. You don't realize it, but you're transacting with each other. And here's the scary part about transaction. If you can't transact in this world with another human being, you're dead. Let me say that again. You're dead if you can't transact. Think of yourself in the middle of the Sahara Desert, can't move, okay, because you can't find water and there's no one to get it from. You're dead. If you're let's say you're maybe somebody in a really impoverished country and you fall into a coma on the side of the road, and that country's people just walk by and look at you, and nobody hands you any charity, you're unable to transact, you die. So transactions are really important. You have to learn how to work with transact with other human beings. If you're in the winter and it's cold and you don't have enough firewood and you can't find somebody to help you warm yourself up, you might not be able to transact. Again, these are examples of transactions. You have to transact. We are wired as a species to transact with each other. A lot of people don't really get that. We're not like bears who just by ourselves, roam around, have some these cubs and then get rid of them and move on. We're not like that. We're not like eagles that really hang out by themselves. We're not like great white sharks. We're a transaction society. We work together and we need to transact with each other. So we're actually wired to do that kind of sharing. So that's an important aspect. People are wired to transact. They want to transact. In fact, it's hard for them to say no to a transaction. That's why when you get a cold call, and you want to just get them off the phone, but you feel bad about it, it's because in your DNA, you're wired to say yes, because saying no is risky. So it's a very interesting concept that people miss in terms of your ability to transact with other human beings. So let's talk about these rules of the game, more of them. Market force is not given. You can't get market force. You can only appropriate it. You can only take it. I can't come to your office and make you the #1 leasing broker, the #1 apartment broker, the #1 office investment broker. I can't do that. I could say it and everybody will laugh. You've got to show that you can do it. You have to take it. So that's an important aspect. Nobody lets you in on this one. You got to produce it yourself. Okay, so important aspect. You build market force by producing it yourself. Market force is only appropriated to the extent you enhance the market force of others. We've talked about this before. You've got to get them to feel like their market force goes up when they're around you, and when they do, they're going to want to be around you more, and your market force will go up. Market force is a consequence of being invisible in transaction. This is a hard one for people to understand. When you're transacting with somebody, generally, they have their concern and they want to get something accomplished, and you have your concern and you want to get something accomplished. And if you start talking about your concern, they don't really care. I'll give you an example of this. You go to a McDonald's and you say, hey, I want an Egg McMuffin. And the person behind the counter says, can't give you an Egg McMuffin right now. The cook didn't show up yet. The guy's not back there. He's not flipping the Egg McMuffins, and he's always late. And the guy starts telling you, this guy's always late. He's hard to work with. And I'm bummed. I'm sitting here at the register. I can't do anything because he's not ready. And the more that person talks, the more they become visible in the transaction. And you're like, oh my God, I just want an Egg McMuffin. I don't want to hear about your whole story about the conflict between you two. No, thank you. They're becoming invisible. Think of it this way. That's one example. When does your copy machine becomes most visible? When it's broken. That's when it becomes visible. When does, if I have, like, let's say I have gardeners, okay? And if they come and they, once a week, they come and they mow and blow in my house, okay? And if they miss, they become visible because I'm starting looking around saying, hey, I didn't get cleaned up around here. So you become visible when you start messing up in a transaction. Do you think your client actually really wants to sit around and have a big, long chat with you and see you every day? I mean, most of these people, they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're investors, they have advertising companies, they're technology companies. They're trying to get their companies off the ground, and we want to talk real estate and spend as much time with them as possible and be their friends. They want to get their business accomplished. And so our job is to understand that we need to get it done in a way that they're like, hey, wow, all I know is I got going and Craig just handled it. It's just handled. I don't even have to think about it. He's invisible in the transaction. And the day you become visible, so here's the key on this one. If you become visible in the transaction, that's a risk for you. But once you've completed the transaction, you want to become visible again so that they can see that they'll remember you. So I'm not saying become invisible in business. I'm saying once a client has signed the contract and he says, I want to get stuff done, what that means is make it easy on them. Make it easy. I'm not saying go away. I'm just saying make it easy on them. That's what it means by being invisible. But before, when the client's deciding whether to pick you, you've got to become visible. So visibility happens before, but then during the transaction, you want it to go away. You want it to be invisible. You want to make it smooth and easy. That's what you're trying to do. So market force is gained by that. Okay, market force is a consequence of accelerating transaction. People in our business generally, a lot of people think they can buy and sell by themselves, or they can do a lease by themselves. And but the problem is it's going to take a lot of time. I got to go get up to speed on the market. It's going to take me all this time. So to the extent that you can accelerate their ability to transact, you will build their market force. If I know that I go work with you and I get it done quicker and you're invisible and it's what I want, that's a good thing. I'm going to go to you, because think of this. Are you going to go drop your laundry off at let's say you're going to go get your dry cleaning done, and you're going to take it to the place that's 2 streets off the main exit that doesn't have good parking, or are you going to take it through the driveway that's on the main exit so you can get back in traffic? Accelerating transaction wins. And so your job is to think about, well, what am I doing to help this person do their job quicker? That will build your market force. Market force is dynamic. It's constantly gained, and it's constantly lost. It is never flat. You didn't, just because you did a deal last year, if you haven't done anything since, it's dropping. And so what you've got to do is you've got to figure out how to increase the number of transactions you're doing. It's a dynamic concept. It's always moving around. Okay, so all business is a game. Success and your transacting is the way to win it. Okay, so the key is to do more transactions in the same amount of time as everyone else. You have just as much time as the prime minister, as the president, and you have just as much time as the person that lives under the bridge. They both have the same amount of time. One of them is producing a lot of transactions, one of them isn't. You have just as much time as the top producer in your office. One of them is producing a lot of transactions, one of them isn't. So your job is to understand that we have to think about transactions in terms of time. Okay, to increase the velocity of transactions, that's the key. Your goal is to make transactions go faster. You're trying to increase your velocity. You want to do twice as many transactions in the same amount of time. You don't want your transactions to absorb all your time. So in order to do that, you got to pull time from the transaction. You have to pull things out of the transaction that are wasted stress, effort, and time. And we're going to teach you that sometimes those things that you're pulling out of the transaction, they're the humanware. It's the human interaction. There are things that are going wrong. It's not the technology. It's not the paperwork. Oftentimes, it's the person's ability to decide. And so we're going to teach you how to help them decide quicker, right? So be more efficient with less stress, effort, and wasted time. Again, that's what we're doing. In order to do this, you must understand the 4 stages of transaction and learn how to accelerate them. So there are 4 basic stages to all transactions, 4 major ones. And you have to understand those and how you operate in those. And one of the places we start is around your habits in transaction. All human beings have habits in transaction. So habits are things that you do that you don't know you're doing. And what we want to do is make sure you recognize, you're focusing on those habits and making sure that they don't get in the way of things. So if you have a habit for, well, deals always are hard, and inside your head you say deals are hard, you're going to make your deal hard. That's a habit. So if you have a habit that, Bob is always out to get my commission, then you're going to get that in the way of the transaction. If you have a habit that all clients are jerks, that's going to get in the way of transactions. So there's lots of little things that you got to think about that get in the way of your transaction and can inhibit your ability to win in this game. So you got to try it out. I want you to think about this. Who in your office has market force? Who's got big identity, big market force? You know that they're either super well connected, they do lots of deals, people know them for something. Who's got the market force in the office? Who's got market force in your personal life? Who do you think, wow, all I know is when I go to that person, I can get what I want. They're super good at this, that, or the other thing. Remember, market force can be in anything. Purple hair and a nose ring is market force in a particular community. So you have to think about the community. So if you're somebody that's into, The Walking Dead, you got a Walking Dead group and we all watch that together, then you have market force inside that group. If you're a group of people that like, to go see a particular band, you have that market force group. If you have a club that wants to go, you're a hiking club, there's market force within that group. If you've got a business network, there's a market force in that group. Inside your office, you have your own market force. With your clients, you have your own market force. These are all particular communities, and you have to ask yourself, what's my promise to each one of those communities? So people are looking at you, trying to figure out what they can count on. They're trying to figure out what your promise is, and then they're trying to figure out how you have market force, whether it's going up or down. So I want you to think about the last one. Can you think of someone who's losing market force right now? There's all kinds of people on TV, media you see, but think of who's losing market force, who's losing out on their identity. Check it out. You'll start seeing that this game's going on all around us. We're playing the game for identity, and identity is measured by your market force. All human beings are in this game for identity. I make this assertion. All human beings are in the game for identity. And if you do things that enhance your identity, you'll do more of it. Or keep your identity the same, you'll at least keep that on. If you will not do things that erode your identity on purpose in front of other people, you won't do that, because not purposely, because that could hurt you. And so what a lot of people do is they get worried when they come into the office, or they're worried, oh my gosh, you've got no identity right now. See, the only way you're going to build identity in the office is to transact. So don't worry about your identity right now, eroding it without transactions. But let me give you an idea of what I mean by that. Let's say you make a plan with me, Craig. I'm going to coach. I want you to coach me. I'm like, cool. I don't know what your identity is yet, but we'll work. In the first meeting, you don't show up. Is your identity going up with me or down with me? Are you transacting ineffectively with me or not? So if you're going to be professional and you're going to make promises to people, you got to fulfill on them. If you don't, you're not being professional, you're not growing your identity. So that's the key to start thinking through that. Okay, so we got to talk about this concept of transaction. The 4 stages, remember, as I said to you, understanding the 4 stages. The 4 stages are identity, relationship, value, and choice. Okay, these are the 4 stages to all transaction. All of us want clients to choose us. That's the end of the transaction. They choose us. You want clients to choose you. But in order for a client to choose you, they need to see your value. And in order for them to see your value and understand your value, they need to have a relationship with you. I'll explain that in a second. You'll see it. In order to have a relationship, you need to have an identity worth having a relationship with you. So an example of that, let's give you an example of how these things, and by the way, it has to go in this order. So for those of you that are making cold calls right now and you're not established, they're not choosing you, it's because they're not seeing your value. I just want you to see that. And because they're not seeing your value, it's probably because they don't have a relationship. And if you don't have a relationship, it's probably because you don't have an identity big enough to have a relationship with. And we'll go through that in a second. These people all have, or companies have, big identities, super strong identities. They get chosen because of their identity has created a space where people want a relationship, they can see their value, and they choose. Okay, so this is Disney, Warren Buffett, LeBron James, that kind of Nike. These are big companies with big identities that have been able to play this game over and over again. So let's play the game. Let's take a look at it. If people aren't choosing you, it's because they do not see your value. And so what happens, we'll call people and say, oh, well, I know this and I know that and I know the other thing, and you're trying to show your value. Choose me, choose me, choose me. Let me show your value. But they're saying, I don't even know who you are. So I don't know if I want to spend any time hearing about your value right now. I want to find out, what you're all about. Okay, so people have to see your value. In order to see your value, they've got to want to be in a relationship with you. And I'll show you, I'll prove this to you in a second. And then before that, in order to be in a relationship, if you're not in a relationship, it's because you don't have sufficient identity. And you haven't established that identity with people yet. And if you don't believe me, try bringing somebody big to one of your meetings, and I'll show you how that is. So somebody comes up to you and they say, hey, want to buy a watch? I got a super good deal. Let me help you out. Let me show you what a good deal it is. When somebody says, I got a super good deal, I want to show you this, they're starting to talk value. This person is saying, I want to have a relationship with you and I want to show you value. And what happens for people is they go, I don't want to be in a relationship with this person. Why do you not want to be in a relationship with this person? Because if you think about this, you're on the street and somebody comes up and does this. For the most part, their identity speaks so loudly that it's like, wow, I'm not feeling good about this. This is making me nervous. And so you don't want to be in a relationship with them. And so you can't go to their value, can't see their value because you don't want to be in a relationship with them. All right. So there's a big breakdown for them. And so what they're trying to do is be as nice as possible to show you so they can have that. So no relationship, no chance to see value. Okay, so let's talk about how bringing identity. When you bring identity, let's say you bring this guy to your next meeting. Okay, this is Bill Gates. You bring him to your next meeting. I promise you, his identity is so strong that just about any client you've got will stop and say, wow, I want to be in this meeting. In fact, not only that, when he leaves, that client will probably call all his friends and his mom and dad or his brother, sister, whatever, and say, wow, I just met with Bill Gates, because identity is so big. So I want to prove to you, people tell you that this is a relationship business, and it's not. It's an identity business. Identity comes before relationship. So identity comes first. People will have a relationship with you to the extent that they think your identity is worth having a relationship with. And what happens is we get on the cold call and we're trying to establish a relationship with people, and we have to realize that people are having an identity conversation in their background, whether you're worth it or not to have that. So that's the key. So real quick recap. The game is for market force. Market force is constantly being evaluated by others at all time. As a matter of fact, you don't own your market force right now. That's the bad news. The good news is that you can do things that will affect your market force in the future because other people own the market force. Their assessment is what matters, not yours. You sit there and say, I am the #1 apartment broker in the market, and nobody believes it. Doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what they think. Now, you can do things to get to become #1, but right now, at this moment, it's owned by everyone around you. Okay, so a critical concept. Here are the rules. Market force isn't given, it's only appropriated. It's appropriated to the extent you enhance the market force of others. It's a consequence of being invisible in transaction. It's a consequence of accelerating transaction, and it's dynamic. It's constantly being gained or lost. Okay, and successful transaction builds market force. Successful transactions are exactly what you need to build your market force. And finally, there's 4 moves: identity, relationship, value, and choice. That's the key to building, getting people to choose you. You've got to share your value. Getting to have value, you've got to have a relationship. Getting to have a relationship, you need to have an identity. And you need to start working on your identity to establish that. Can you see how that pulls time from a transaction? I can pull time from my transaction if I bring Bill Gates to every one of my meetings. We'll go faster. I'll get in a relationship quicker, show value quicker, and probably choose quicker because of that. So you need to become that person. So that's our key. That's class 1. That's our key to what we want you to learn within this. And hopefully that starts getting you thinking, wow, what's my identity? Am I growing in the identity of others? Am I invisible in transaction? Those are the kinds of things I want you to start thinking about for our next call. So with that, folks, good luck. Take it, use this stuff, and let's see how you do with it. Thanks.